He said I chased him like a puppy. But by the end of that night at the luxury gala, it was him begging for mercy. His pride shattered. As I walked away without a second glance asterisk. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss an incredible story like this one. I had always been the kind of person who followed the rules, kept my emotions in check and played it safe. In the world of high society, this wasn't always the case. People who could afford the grandest experiences were often a little too comfortable in their wealth, a little too self-assured in their allure. They had this strange way of moving through the world, as if everyone around them was simply a part of the scenery. I was still finding my place. That night, the luxury gala in question promised to be one of those nights that would change everything for me. Hosted by one of the most famous power couples in the city, it was a night everyone wanted an invite to. So, when I received the invitation, I knew this was my opportunity to finally cement myself among the people I had always admired from a distance. The night started in the most glamorous way possible. The venue was a sprawling mansion, perched on the cliffs overlooking the city, with lights twinkling in the distance like stars come to life. It was the perfect picture of wealth. As I entered, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses greeted me. The guests, all impeccably dressed, were mingling in groups, talking in hushed tones about stocks, investments, the next big business move. I adjusted the hem of my dress, took a deep breath, and stepped inside, determined to make the most of this evening. I was there to be seen. I was there to prove something to myself and to the world. But what I hadn't counted on was him. Julian. A man. You seemed to embody everything I had spent my life aspiring to. Tall, dark-haired, and impossibly handsome, Julian had the kind of charisma that could fill a room even when he wasn't speaking. He was the kind of man who could make you feel invisible with a single glance, the kind of man who had everything without even trying. I noticed him across the room. His back was to me, but even from behind, his presence was undeniable. People gravitated toward him like moths to a flame. I had heard stories about Julian. He was the heir to a tech empire, a man who never stayed in one place for too long, and someone who left broken hearts in his wake. It wasn't difficult to see why, but I wasn't here to get lost in his charm. I reminded myself, I was here for the event. I was here to make a name for myself. It wasn't until much later in the evening that our paths crossed. I had been talking to a few important figures, trying to keep my composure while listening to them speak about things I didn't fully understand. When I looked up, there he was, standing just a few feet away. He wasn't speaking to anyone, and there was an air of loneliness about him, something that struck me as odd given his usual commanding presence. I didn't plan to walk over, but I did. My feet moved without asking for permission, and before I knew it, I had crossed the room and was standing in front of him. "Julian," I said, smiling politely, "I didn't expect to see you here." He turned, and when he looked at me, his gaze was penetrating, as if he was seeing right through me. "Surprised to see you here," he said, his voice smooth, almost too smooth. "I didn't take you for someone who would enjoy these kinds of events." I wasn't sure if that was an insult or a compliment, but I refused to let it show. I don't enjoy it, but I know the importance of being in the right places. "I'm sure you understand." He chuckled, but it wasn't the laugh of someone who found humor in what I said. It was more like a challenge, a way of showing that he didn't believe my words. "Tell me, what is it that you think you're going to find here tonight?" His eyes studied me with a certain detachment, as if he was already a step ahead of me. "Do you think these people will be impressed by your presence? Or is it something else you're hoping to find?" I felt a little exposed under his gaze, but I wasn't about to back down. "I'm here to prove that I belong." The words came out stronger than I expected, and for a moment, he didn't say anything. His eyes flickered with something that I couldn't quite read. Then, almost as if he had made a decision, he leaned in a little closer. "Interesting," he said, his voice quieter. "You think you can walk into this world and simply claim your place?" "I don't think," I replied sharply. "I know." There was a pause, and I could tell I had struck a chord with him. But instead of retreating, he leaned in even closer, his lips almost touching my ear. "Prove it," he whispered. I wasn't sure what he meant by that, but I wasn't about to back down. I nodded and took a step back, offering him a challenging smile. "I will," I said. The rest of the evening was a blur. Julian seemed to hover around me, always watching, always waiting for me to falter. Every conversation I had, he was there, in the periphery, as if he was silently judging me, testing me. It was clear that he wasn't interested in making friends. He wasn't interested in making connections. He was interested in seeing if I could hold my own dot at some point during the night. I found myself in the grand ballroom. The music was softer now. The crowd had thinned out, and the space felt oddly intimate. The chandeliers above sparkled like diamonds, casting a soft glow over the room. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Julian. He was surrounded by people, as usual, but this time there was something different in his demeanor. He wasn't as relaxed as he usually was. His eyes scanned the room, and when they landed on me, I saw something like recognition, but also something darker. Something that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up without thinking. I walked toward him. The crowd parted, and when I reached him, I didn't hesitate. I looked him directly in the eye and said, "Let's dance." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" "I'm sure," I said, my voice steady. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he extended his hand, and I took it. We moved to the center of the floor, and for the first time that night, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The music swirled around us, and as we danced, something shifted between us. It was as if the whole world fell away, and for a moment, it was just the two of us connected in a way that felt dangerous and thrilling all at once. Julian's grip tightened on my waist, and his eyes darkened. "You're not what I expected," he said, his voice low. "I thought you were just another person trying to blend in, trying to prove yourself. But you're not. You're something else entirely." "Why?" I asked, breathless. "Because I'm not afraid of you." He smirked, but it wasn't a smile. It was a challenge. "You should be." And just like that, something shifted. The air between us crackled with tension, and I could feel the power dynamics shift. He was no longer the one in control. The tables had turned. With every step we took across the dance floor, the power he thought he had over me was slipping through his fingers. I wasn't here to chase him anymore. I wasn't here to win his approval. I was here to show him that I didn't need his validation as the music slowed. I found myself stepping away from him. The crowd had already started to watch us more closely, intrigued by the exchange between us. Julian looked at me, his eyes now searching, as if trying to figure out what I was playing at. "I don't need to prove anything to you," I said, my voice steady, "but I'll make sure you remember me." He took a step toward me, but before he could say anything, I turned and walked away, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. I didn't look back, not because I didn't want to, but because I knew exactly what he was thinking. I had taken control of the night, and he hadn't even seen it coming by the end of the evening. Julian was nowhere to be found. But the look in his eyes, the way he had stared after me, was enough. He had underestimated me, and now he knew exactly who I was. And it was clear that I had left him begging for mercy, not with words, but with my actions. As I exited the mansion into the cool night air, I couldn't help but smile. I had come here to prove that I belonged, and in the end, I had done far more than that. I had left a mark, a permanent one.